Hi, I'm Melanie Conklin, the author of these middle grade titles. I'm also in the works on my third book, which you'll hear more about soon. Today I want to talk about how to write forward. You might say, what is writing forward? I'm talking about drafting. So drafting a lot of times can be kind of intimidating because you're facing a blank page. You don't have anything yet to revise. So the most important part of drafting is just to get the draft done. It's to give yourself something to work with. I have never written a draft and gotten nothing out of it. Every draft has always led to the next step. So even if I know like 75% of what I'm drafting is not right and the plot is definitely wrong, I still discover so much about the story and the characters that it's a great foundation for my next draft. So I want to talk about how you can get through that draft by drafting forward, is what I call it. So the main idea with drafting forward is that you want to get a scene written without getting distracted or losing focus. You want to just get through the words that you need to get through for the day. And there are certain things that arise that kind of take you out of your drafting zone. And usually it's when you don't know what to write, which you might laugh and say, I'm drafting, Melanie. How would I know what to write? Very good point. Sometimes you don't know what to write. So my first step in drafting forward and drafting as quickly and efficiently as I can is to accept that what I'm writing now will definitely change. And when I say to myself, this is going to change, then it's kind of okay to just put down my best guess, because it's going to change in revision, and that's okay. And I have to kind of work on accepting that it's okay that these words I'm writing down are definitely going to change. But as soon as I accept it, kind of makes me feel a little more free to write down whatever my idea is at the time. Then my other big technique that I use as I'm writing, other than accepting that I'm going to have to rewrite most of it, is that I use a lot of placeholders. So when I'm drafting and I set out to write a scene, if I get going and I'm excited because I know how it starts, and then as I'm writing that opening sentence, I realize that I don't know a character's name, then I will use a placeholder like this. You can see that I just used the letter M 3 times because I'm thinking this character's name starts with M, maybe, but I don't know the name. So I just go ahead and put 3 letters in a row, any kind of placeholder, whatever works for you. And then I keep writing. I just don't think about it, because if I stop and I try to figure out their name right then, that's kind of a really involved process for me to choose the names. It totally keeps me from writing my scene. All of a sudden I'm in my notebook or I'm looking up character names and I'm reading some other book and I've lost my drafting momentum. So I use the placeholder. So you can see in this like totally fake story here, I'm just using that character's name as 3 M's every time it comes up. And that makes it easy to search for later on, because I can just search for 3 M's and replace it with the name once I decide what the name is. The next kind of replacement or placeholder that I'll use is, a lot of times I'll know like what I want to happen. Like I want somebody to make a joke or say something funny, but I don't have a joke. Nothing's coming to mind. So what I do is I just write something funny, and I use brackets. So brackets aren't something that I'm ever going to leave in a document at the end. I use brackets instead of parentheses because sometimes I might actually have parentheses in a story on purpose. So I use brackets because then I can search for them, or I notice them. They kind of stand out. So if I get to that point and, oh, there's some setting, and oh, there's some dialogue, and then the other character says something funny, if it doesn't come to mind, I just write something funny and then I keep going. And that way I'm continuing to build my scene forward without stopping to try to figure out what goes in that place. You can see this story keeps going. This dog jumps up. There's the character's name comes up again, and I get to the end of a paragraph and I'm thinking of something, but I can't remember what it is. Like maybe I'm in the middle of talking about making a pie, and I know that it's a certain kind of pie pan that will be used, but I can't remember what it's called in the moment. I do not open the internet and Google it. I just put look it up in brackets or research in brackets or whatever shorthand I want to use. I just leave it there to be changed later. Because the most important thing is just to get all of these words on the page, which I wouldn't have had on the page at all if I had stopped to figure out any one of these things. I wouldn't have a whole page of writing. So I use placeholders a ton to write forward. The other thing I use is when I go to write a scene, I make a list. So a lot of times I will just take a piece of paper. Often it's the day before to leave myself a cheat sheet, but if I didn't make a cheat sheet, then I will just make a really quick bullet list of the things that I think might happen in order in the scene. And then even if I have no idea about certain parts of it, I will just write down words that kind of remind me of what I had in mind for the scene. So here's a really bad list, but first thing that happens, he says something mean. Third thing, I don't know what goes there. Then there's action stuff. So this is not very specific and tells you nothing about my story, but it's a big picture of what I want to have happen in that chapter or scene. And I can use this as a roadmap. It gives me just enough of a reminder that I can keep drafting forward without stopping and getting lost. So I will make a checklist for a scene. I also like to keep a running checklist on my desk of what has just happened in the previous chapters. Very simply, like he found the dog, the roof fell in, they ate ice cream, like very simple bullet points so that I can glance down and remind myself what just happened in the chapter before without going back and reading it. Often when I go back and read a chapter, then I will start editing. And so what I prefer to do is make a list of what happened in those chapters to refer to, and then a list of what I want in my next scene, and then I just crank it out. We'll go back to that note about editing. That's one of my final tips here. No edits. So when you're drafting forward, and the idea is, I need to get 10,000 words done this week, or I need to get 30,000 words done in a month, then your goal is to get those words down as quickly and efficiently as possible. So I try not to go back and reread what I have written. And if I do, to remind myself, just to kind of trigger my memory, because that's okay, I will not let myself make edits. Let myself start highlighting things and changing them. I just briefly read it. I keep moving. If I see things that need to be changed, I keep a running list of the things that need to be changed. And that way, when I go back, I can just make all those changes on a revision pass. I can even have things happen like I can totally change my mind about how a character is going to function in the story. I just change it in the chapter I'm on and keep going. And I just make a note to edit, to revise it in all the previous chapters. And that keeps me writing forward. The goal there is to remove your obstacles so that you can get your word count done and finish your draft. Happy writing.